Got it. Okay. எப்படி போகணுமோ?
Okay, students, let's start the session. Fine. So we are the last day of TRG, session 4. Today we're going to discuss overall portions that we missed in our previous sessions. So today I'm going to discuss with you all about substantive procedures, evidence, which is very, very, very important for section A this time, controls, another important area, and few ISAs, few standards, right? So first I'll take with controls. So test of controls, question number 1, probably question number 1, section B. If audit risk is tested as the question number 1, then section B, question number 2. It is almost confirmed question. Minimum 15 marks, 13 to 15 marks will be tested. Okay. Actually, if I take external audit, that external audit will deals with 3 stages, students. The first stage, I can say, planning stage, right? The second stage, if I take performance stage, and the third stage, if I take reporting stage. These are the 3 stages of audit. And if I take this performance stage, if I take this performance stage, I'll take that portion separately. Performance stage of external audit. Performance stage of external audit. See here, if I take this performance stage of external audit, that help us to gather audit evidence. So in this stage only, we are gathering audit evidence. Audit evidence, you might study a standard called ISA 500, sufficiency and appropriate evidence. How to gather audit evidence? What is the method that we should follow to collect audit evidence? Basically, the audit evidence is collected through procedures. There are 2 types of procedures. One is test of controls. And the second one is substantive procedures. These are the 2 procedures that we perform to gather evidence. What is test of control? Normally, test of control is also procedures over control activity and control objective, right? So it's ensure, test of controls means we are applying procedure. We apply procedures to ensure that controls are preventive, detective, and corrective material misstatements. So simply I can say that controls are preventive, detective, and corrective of material misstatements. So when this can happen, when controls can prevent, when controls can detect, when controls can correct misstatements, when that control activity is equal to control objective. When control activity is equals to control objective. When control activity is equal to control objective, we call that control as effective control. Simply, I'll give you one example. Let's say CCTV camera. That CCTV camera is focusing on a wrong direction. CCTV is a control activity. That control activity have control objective. What is the control objective? CCTV means monitoring. So if you fix the CCTV, but CCTV, let's say it's looking upwards. The CCTV which is looking upwards, then the objective is not satisfied. So there is a control activity that is not met control objective means ineffective control. There is a control activity that met control objective means that we call effective control. That's we call effective control. So when controls are effective, misstatements will less misstatements. And audit risk is also we study control risk. So less misstatements because of effective controls. more misstatements because of ineffective controls. So we perform test of control to see whether control activity equal to control objective or whether control activity not equal to control objective. In other words, whether control is effective or whether control is ineffective. If control is effective, less misstatements. If control is not effective, more misstatements. This is a part of test of control. So this can be definitely tested, right? So now substantive procedures, I'll come to you point later. Okay. First copy this, then I'll move to the control portions in detail. And I want to teach you how to write cover letter also, that we'll discuss in a right. So how this can be tested in the exam, that we'll see, right? So first copy this quickly. Now I'll tell you how this can be tested. This control portion can be tested in your exams, right? I'm not going to explain it in detail because in my theory class, I think I took all these things in very detail, right? So here I don't have time because today I am not in a position to continue for 3 hours. So I want to cover it up everything. So just I give a summarized points, right? So if you need further information, you can talk to me later, right? So I can explain you in detail. So let's take the first point. Let's take the first point. One is control deficiencies. Right. So they might ask you to identify control deficiency. Control deficiency means definitely they will provide you a case study. In that case study, they speaks about control activities and they speaks about control objectives also. So it's your duty to identify whether that control activity and objectives are satisfied or not. Because if whatever the materials you used, you can use Kaplan, BPPO, Study Hub or whatever, in those materials, they might clearly said the control objectives. They might clearly set the control activities. So we need to apply that and find out the deficiencies. Second one, control strength. Second one, control strength. Control, I can say control strength. Third one, test of control. Third one, test of control. So these are the common questions. These are the common questions. 3 questions that is possible from this. But try to understand one thing. If I take these 3 questions, I am expecting certain sales system. The first system is sales system. So control strength and direct control are same. Control strength and direct control. I could say like control strength and direct control. Direct control means control activity. Control activity, right? Control strength means control activity met control objective. Abdullah understood, right? I'll explain through one example. Wait, Abdullah. I'll explain that through an example, right? Here, see, first one sales system. The second one is purchase system. Second one is purchase system. The third one is payroll system. Payroll system. Fourth one is third one is payroll system. Fourth one is inventory system. Fifth one is cash and bank system. Seventh one is capital expenditure system. These are the systems. But students, please practice the 4 systems. Please practice these 4 systems. Right? System and purchase system. Okay. So these systems, and they might give you scenarios related to the company, and they might ask you to write deficiencies. Don't forget one thing. When you are writing answers, how to write answers. That is important. So I'll teach you how to write answers here. The first thing is control weakness. Control weakness. When you are writing control weaknesses, you should follow 3 steps. The first thing is key issue. Identify the key issue from the scenario, right? And explain weakness. You should prove why control activity not met control objective, right? Third one, impact to organization. As a result of that control failure, what will be the impact to organization? These 3 points should be included in your answer when you are explaining deficiency. And let's say effective controls, or else I can say control strength. Effective controls. Effective controls means control strength. Again, you should identify scenario point. You can't say it's an issue because it is not an issue. When it comes to effective control, it is not an issue, right? Scenario point should be taken, right? Explain how control activity met control objective. And here also, you should write the impact to organization. So when there is a control strength, there is a positive impact to the organization. risk of material misstatement will reduce. That should be explained, because most of the kids, when they are writing answers, they are effective controls. If they ask, examiner asking you to write down effective controls, you just point out the controls only and saying it is effective. But you should not miss the last point, how it add value to your organization. Those 3 points are important. And when it comes to test of control, most of the students confuse what is this, right? For the test of controls, simply suggest a control. Normally in the recommendation, we suggest a control, right? I forgot to mention how to write a recommendation. Control deficiency, and they ask us to write down recommendation. Recommendation, deficiency, weaknesses we identify, and you should give a recommendation. In your recommendation, what you should do is suggest a control. That's all. Because your control activity is not met control objective. That's why you marked it as weakness. So in your recommendation, you should suggest a control. That control should be control activity equal to control objective. So recommendation means don't think how to write procedure, how to write recommendations. Sir, I don't know how to write. It is very simple. Suggest a proper control that resolve the problem here. You are telling a weakness was there. What is weakness? Control activity is not met control objective, which means controls are not sufficient to prevent, detect, and correct misstatements. So now we're going to suggest a control. That suggestion is known as recommendation. Suggestion is known as recommendation. And then you should provide test of control. You should provide test of control. So let's take that. Now let's see how to write test of control. Now let's see how to write test of control. When we are writing test of control, students, it is very simple. The first thing, how auditor going to verify? How auditor going to verify control suggested by them? Here I suggest a control, right? How I am going to verify that control? So test of control is always how you going to verify recommendation. Because most of the students confuse with this. Test of control means again they go to the scenario and they write some controls for the deficiencies. No, already the recommendation we suggest the control. Test of control means how we going to test this recommendation. For you guys, I'll give you one example that would be easy for you to understand. First, we'll take, right, sales system. Sales invoice not sequentially numbered. Issue given in the scenario, right? If it is not sequentially numbered, unable to identify lost or missed invoice. What I'm telling is, if any invoice is lost or if any invoice is missed, it's very difficult, unable to identify. So that is I'm telling here, right? 1 minute. Now, it will create customer dissatisfaction. It will create customer dissatisfaction or payment delays. Correct, right? So when inventory is sales invoice is not sequentially numbered, invoices you can't identify. If you are unable to identify any invoices that sales invoices missed, definitely it will create customer dissatisfaction, right? Payment delays. There was a sales invoice that you are sending to your customer. Sales invoice is not sequentially numbered. So suppose if it is missed from your end, how are you going to identify? So all these will create the delays that affect organization. Don't forget these 3 steps when you are writing control weaknesses, right? Now, the same thing, let's say if they said it is sequentially numbered, control strength, sales invoices sequentially numbered, right? When invoice sequentially numbered, entity can able to identify any missed invoice. Exactly. The key issue can be copied from the scenario, but the problem is don't copy everything. Huh? You should identify the specific issue. If you feel that key issue is too big, try to summarize as much as possible to save your time. Okay. Is it clear, Marzook? Right, fine. And then finally, I'm going to explain as a result of this, what is the benefit that we have. Right. Sales invoice can be processed timely. So on time, we can able to process this sales invoice. You can say that will result customer satisfaction also. So this is how you should write effective controls. Now let's forget about this. Let's forget about effective control. Just take the weaknesses. For this, I'm going to give a recommendation, right? Just forget about effective control. I said there is a control weakness. Now I'm going to give a recommendation. Recommendation means a suggestion. For here, the issue is invoices are not sequentially numbered. So what is the suggestion? There are 2 types of suggestions that we can give. One suggestion is, I can say, a general control. It is, I can say, a general control. Second one is, it's a direct control. Direct control means that control is solid control for this problem. Okay. Here, one is, you can simply say, sales invoice should be sequentially numbered. This is what 99% of the students will write. This is what 99% of the students will write. Yes or no? How you feel? Definitely you will write this, right? Sales invoice should be sequentially numbered. This is the recommendation normally you will provide, because that is a control you suggest. But I'll explain little deep, because one student asked what is direct control. See here, when you are suggesting a control, that control is already there, right? They are preparing invoice sequentially. But if they missed, they are not preparing invoice sequentially. You are saying that just you ask them to prepare invoice sequential order, right? That's a general control. That's a general control. But that's a general control. What you can do is check the sales clerk, how frequently management check the sequential. Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Direct control is you should perform periodic sequence check. You should perform what? Periodic sequence check. Yes, I'm suggesting a control. For that, a direct control here, periodic sequence check. So through that, this control become very effective. You got my point? This is what called recommendation. Now I am going to write test of control. Test of control means what? We are using audit procedures to test whether control activity met control objective or not. So does there a mark available for the first control recommendation? Yes. 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 But if you are focusing on a rank, you all are from Sri Lanka, right? Sri Lanka means Sri Lankan, yeah, we are using the word price, right? Those who are outside, you are using the word rank. Okay. So when we are using, if you're planning for a rank, your answer should show that, I can say it's an enriched answer. It's an enriched answer, a quality answer, right? So when you are writing like this express to that examiner, the person who correct your paper, give some confidence that you know things. Your control risk is very low. If you write only this, still there is a control risk. But when you are writing both, control risk is zero. Because you are setting a control, for that you are providing another direct control. But if you want to pass, no problem at all. First one is fine. Okay. How to write test of control? So already we gave recommendations. For the recommendations or suggestions, controls, how are we going to test this? See, select a sample of sales invoice. Select a sample of sales invoice and inspect whether it is sequentially numbered or not. You can select a sample of sales invoice and see whether it is sequentially numbered or not. Or else you can discuss with sales clerk how frequently they perform sequence check. How frequently they perform sequence check. Now you all understood, students, how to approach these questions, how to write answer. So I gave answer structure and I gave an example to explain that also. Is it clear? Understood? Yes or no? Understood, students? Tell me whether you understood or not. Understood or not? Right. Quickly copy this. Quickly copy this. Now students, sometime in your final exam, they might ask you to write these deficiencies in a specific format, like of a report, right? For example, if I take, I don't know how many of you all remembered or studied this, ISA 260 and ISA 265. ISA 260 and ISA 265, right? Communicating deficiencies to charge with governance. So normally, when we are communicating these kind of things to management, we call that document as management letter. Simple form, we say ML. Management letter. Simply we call ML. When we are talking about this ML or management letter, there is a format. In your exam, sometime examiner asks you to explain deficiencies in the form of cover letter. In the form of what? Cover letter. Because when we are communicating deficiencies, we should communicate in a standard format. Audit report is also a formal report. Likewise, when we are communicating these deficiencies, we should follow what? A cover letter. So when we are writing a cover letter, it's a format of the report, right? Similar to report format. Similar to report format, right? So if you take sender, topic, date, then subject. Then you should include introduction. You should include body. Body of the report, if you take, that is the answer. Right? If they ask deficiencies and recommendation, if the question is deficiencies and recommendation, that is the answer. That is the body. Then finally, you should give what? A recommendation. And sometimes if the answer is deficiencies and recommendation, overall conclusion is not required. Overall conclusion is not required. Here, in this tute I gave, I'll share this tute after the session, right? A sample of cover letter. See, just take this and put an introduction column or paragraph. In the introduction, you should explain all of your questions. Let's say 2 or 3 questions are given and they ask us to write in the form of what? Cover letter. They ask us to write the cover letter for all 3 questions. Then all 3 questions should be included within introduction paragraph. If they ask only for first part, deficiency only, they are asking cover letter, then you should speak about deficiency. Then as an attachment, you can write the deficiencies and recommendation. See the word that they use here. Instead of recommendation, they use the word control. So try to understand recommendation means we are suggesting control. This is how we should write a cover letter. This is how we should write a cover letter. So I'll take it here. Right? So that is the way of writing what? Cover letter. Now I'll come to substantive procedure. Okay. Before that, I mark this paragraph. So these will be examined by the examiner. Yes, cover letter possible. 2015, there was a question. 2017, there was a question. 2019 also, there was a question. Answer should be in the form of cover letter. Possible. Better to prepare for that also. It is very easy. Nothing to think. If you get a format, how to write, just put that format. That will give a bonus marks to you all. Okay. Fine. I gave only this paragraph, take only this paragraph, right? From this paragraph, I'll give 5 minutes. From this paragraph, try to type the deficiency and the recommendation and test of control. One is what? They ask us deficiencies and their control and test of control. Take at least one issue here within this red color paragraph. Type one deficiency, type one recommendation, type one test of control. I want to see the way that you are writing answers. It's always closer to exam. So I want to see the quality of your answer. Okay. Definitely, I will give comment whether your answer is in line with expectation or you need to improve. So please type your answers. I'll give 5 minutes. Don't try to write lot. Take only one problem, at least one deficiency, one recommendation, and one test of control. Do it. Okay, let's check your answers. Shafla. I told you now, right? When you are like explaining the deficiency, you should explain three things. See, in your answer, it is not possible for the store manager to order books from the other store branches. You lost this impact. You just explain the weakness. I hope you understood. Right. Don't forget to write those three things because your marks is split on those three, especially 1 marks for weakness, 1 marks for recommendation, 2 marks. That is the criteria. If you don't follow these things, special impact, if you read examiner's report, he again and again examiner is expecting like how students link that control deficiency with misstatements. You might study audit risk, and audit risk of material misstatement arise from two things. One is inherent risk, two is control risk. So control risk is obviously control deficiencies are closely related to misstatements, right? Check with another branch manager whether they could order through the system. Okay. Control inter-branch ordering system. Right. Fine. Marzook, control deficiency. Customers who wish to order books which are not in the stock. Krushda, there may be a chance purchase unrelated business transaction below 1,000 may be used to personal it may be decrease the profit. Okay. Rushda, don't say like in your direct control, don't say a minimum value. All the transactions should be authorized. All the transactions should be authorized. Right. So you should not say like it shouldn't like that. Hello. Hello. Just a second. Sorry. So just say all the entire amount, even 1 rupee, it should be authorized. Who going to authorize? It depends. It does not mean that all the transactions should be authorized by the director, but someone should be authorized. Right. Don't give a space like less than 100, no one need to be authorized. It is not like that. Okay. And next one is orders above 1,000 is only authorized regardless value of the given is data and sign confirm that order can be processed. Okay. When the order are not authorized, purchase director chance of overpaying expenses, non-business expenses. Correct. Control orders about 1,000. Correct. See the answer structure of Abdullah. Don't, but Abdullah, when you are writing, don't divide issue, impact, and weakness. Everything should be right as 3 paragraph you can write, but try to put everything as one because for your convenient only I divide. Okay, but correct, perfect. So far, this answer would be a perfect answer. And Nimesha, store managers send the requisition to central warehouse. Order is placed by the purchase clerk. Purchase order is not approved by the head of department responsible person. There is a risk of buying unnecessary stocks or stocks already in the warehouse. All purchase orders need to be approved by head of the department. Then warehouse manager need to check the availability of stock. Then place the purchase order. Good, perfect. Test of control, take a sample of purchase order and inspect whether it is approved by the responsible person. Perfect. And Rushda, review the purchase order related supporting documents to confirm whether it is below or limit, confirm the evidence. Rushda, I hope you understood what I said right now. Okay. Kamal, test of control. Review the purchase order books. Please fulfill the order when it falls in the stock. Inspect purchase requisition. Mhm. Sir, orders are centralized. Only finance director signs. It depends. Centralized means not always finance director, right? Even some companies, warehouse managers can do that. Purchasing department can do that, right? Now everything is systemized. Better to use the common term like responsible official. Finance director is also fine, right? Now, students, let's move to the next portion. I hope you all understood how to approach this, right? Let's move to the next portion. The next portion is substantive procedures. So can I expect where should I correct my answer? Yeah, sure. Can you put all your points at once now as a single message? Kamal, can you put your text as a single message? Yeah, I'll take one student's answer. So let's concentrate here. Deficiency, he explained, customers who wish to order books which are not in the stock, the customer will be disappointed by the books that they wanted to order. It lead impact to customer dissatisfaction and goodwill of the company. Here, in the deficiency, your impact is strong. That is fine. But something is missing here. That is, we call inter-branch ordering system. This is the issue. They are unable to, that one branch people not in a position to check the availability of stock in another branch. That is the problem. That should be explained clearly. That is missing here. Right. Now, let's say in our branch, that book is not there. But in the next branch, it was there. Whether it is in the next branch, whether it is available or not, I am not in a position to check. That is the main problem. There is no connection between inter branches. We are simply telling our customers, you go and check in that branch. So here the main problem is not ordering. Main problem is I am unable to check. If I'm manager, I'm unable to check the availability of that book in other branches. That should be specifically mentioned. The store manager has to order appropriate books as per the demand. So here, the recommendation is there should be a ordering, or I can say like interbranch connectivity that should be there. That I can just say in my, you can't make sure like, you can't tell like this every time all the books should be there. Because books, when we are talking about the books, it's based on the edition, based on the publication. Practically think, sometimes we are selling latest edition. One customer coming and asking, okay, I need the previous edition. So the previous edition may not be available at my place. So when you are recommending control, that should be not costly. That should be feasible also. So as per you, like, is it possible to keep all the books at once? Instead of that, if we create an interbranch connectivity, that is make sure like, okay, if when someone is coming to my branch, that book is not there, quickly I check, yes, it's available in this branch. Then I ask that customer to make the payment. Immediately that particular book will be sent to delivered to that customer's doorstep. So that is the problem here. Not maintaining sufficient inventory is not the problem. Is it clear? Is it clear? See, the same answers for same issue. I think the first one. Someone who wrote first answer. Shahula's answer. Right. I'll take Shahula's answer again. Right. See here, I copied her answer also. It is not possible for the store manager to order books from the other store branches. She explained the problem. She forget to write what? Impact. That is not there. Control, she is telling interbranch ordering system should be implemented and store manager can able to verify whether the books are available at other branch. Then test of control. So she identified the problem. But the format have some issues. That's how we should write. Okay, fine. Okay, quickly let's go for substantive procedures. Substantive procedures, it can be tested in 3 ways, right? One, the term is procedures. The term is procedures, right? If the term is procedures, you can write test of controls. You can write test of controls. You can write test of detail. You can write test of detail. And you can write substantive analytical procedures. All 3 you can write. First one is, if the verb is procedures. Verb is very important when it comes to substantive procedure, right? Don't just treat all the questions as same. If the examiner is asking you to write procedures, then you can write test of control, you can write test of detail, you can write substantive ARP, analytical review procedures. Some past paper questions, procedures, the verb is substantive procedures. They ask you to write down what? Substantive procedures. If the verb is substantive procedures, you can only write test of detail and substantive analytical procedures. You can only write what? Test of detail and substantive analytical procedures. Suppose if the examiner asks you to write substantive analytical procedures. If examiner asks you to write substantive analytical procedures, you can't write test of control. You can't write test of detail. You can write only what? ARP, analytical review procedures. That you can write only analytical review procedures. So you should understand the verbs first. You should understand the verbs first. So first study the verbs. Based on that only you can draft your answer. So sometime they might ask you to write procedures. They might ask you to write substantive procedures. They might ask you to write substantive analytical procedures. Based on that, you can write the answer. For example, here see they gave what is a verb? Substantive procedures. So if the verb is substantive procedures, you can write test of detail and substantive analytical procedures. For the same question, if they gave the word like, okay, only procedures, describe procedures, then you can write these three. Okay. So it's very important you should understand. It's very important that you should understand the verbs. Okay. Copy this first. Copy this first. Sir, can you suggest some of the question in the study hub we should practice relating to substantive procedures? I could suggest like this. For substantive procedures, I do not want to take any risk. For substantive procedures, I do not want to take any risk. It is difficult. It is very easy and comfortable those who are working. I would say you should practice all the questions related to substantive procedures. Now I am going to give you how substantive procedures can be tested in the exam, type of questions, right? At least try to practice those types. If it is possible, spend your maximum time with substantive procedure. Because 15 to 20 marks in your exam, minimum 15 marks. Focus more. Focus more. And practice whatever the questions you have. Even I'm okay if you are taking a chartered CA book and if you practice that procedures also, I'm happy. No problem at all. But don't be more selective for audit risk. Don't be more selective for procedures. Both are very important. Otherwise, I will tell, okay, just practice only these questions. It's enough. But for substantive procedures, I feel those who practice a lot will easily get good marks. Right. See here, if I take substantive procedures, the first thing, components of financial statements. Example, sales, purchase. I can recommend you to buy hard procedures if you are getting substantive procedures over, so just procedures over, whatever the verb, over financial statement contents. Sometimes they might ask you to write procedures over sales. procedures over purchase, procedures over payables, procedures over receivables. So for those type of questions, simply you can by heart, because even in my material, I gave entire financial statements, component related procedures. I asked students to by heart. If you get a question like this, you can by heart and write. I can say 30% of substantive procedure questions in your final exam is like this. Elements can be tested up to 30%. Let's say if it is 20 marks, out of 20 marks, 30%, 6 to 8 marks question is based on this. The second one is, again, components only. Components of financial statements. Components of financial statement with specific assertion. With what? Specific assertion. For example, completeness of sales. Earlier just sales, but now completeness of sales. Elements of financial statement, but they are asking with what? A specific assertion. Is possible from this area. Most of the students confused if they got a question like this. Right? So therefore, I recommend you all at least to practice these both. 60% is done. 60% is done. Right? Third one, risk of material misstatement. Risk of material misstatements provided. Perform procedures to resolve that misstatement. Right. This is also like 10% possible. What is this? A standard related issue. For example, for this, I'll give you an example. Right? Research cost capitalized by finance director. Scenario is this. They ask you to write procedures. Right. So if you take this research cost is capitalized, it's a misstatement. IAS 38 intangible asset. In such case, how you going to perform procedures? That is the question. So please practice substantive procedures question in these three types. In these three types. Then you can score maximum marks. Right. I expect this time, this type of question more. Sorry. But in recent past papers, examiner asking this type of case studies also. Examiner is asking that type of case studies also. Right. I hope now, Shaula, did you get an idea how it can be tested? So I could say you can practice these three types of substantive procedure questions. First procedure, first type, you can by heart. Second one, you need to practice more questions. Right. Simply I'll give you one question. If possible, just type one procedure. Okay. Substantive procedures to confirm rights and obligations of trade debtors. The question is this: substantive procedures to confirm rights and obligation of trade debtors. So rights and obligation is an assertion, balance sheet. Trade debtor, receivables. Okay, I'll give 5 minutes. Write down at least one procedure. At least one procedure. This is second type. This type of question is second type. Okay, try out. I want to see your answers again. Now let's see here. Review, fine. Review signed customer contract with the debtors and verify terms and conditions. Correct. Inspect the sample of sales invoice GRN to check if the ownership transfer of good from credit is done to ensure rights and obligation. Okay. Rushda. So Rushda, review sales invoice and good dispatch note to confirm whether the names of the customer, quantity, amounts, ownership are specified as per age debtor list. It's weak. It's weak. Actually, contract is the correct point. Reviewing the contract rather than invoice. And inspect sample of sales invoice with the inventory to ensure the sale is made. Okay. Through that, how you going to ensure the ownership, rights and obligation of the customer? There is two types of sales, cash sales and credit sales. If it is a cash sale, so if your point, if I take your point, that include both cash sales and credit sales. So rather than testing from the sales side, you should test from the receivable side. Discuss with Rushda, discuss with management and confirm allocated provision is responsible for irrecoverable debt. Provision is needed. That is valuation. Your answer is valuation, Rushda. Question is rights and obligation. Nimesha, check the loan or mortgage agreement with the bank or any other financial provider. The trade receivables are pledged as a security to ensure rights and obligation of the receivable. Perfect procedure. Sometimes we can keep the receivables as security. In that case, the ownership is transferred to bank. Second one, check the contracts with third parties like, factoring companies. Factoring arrangements. If you made factoring arrangements, yes, that is also a correct point only. Right, because you can sell your receivables to a third-party organization. You can check whether such kind of arrangement is made or not. See this answer. Third one, check the credit balance of receivables to verify with the management reasons for the credit balance and disclose it as a payable balance to ensure obligation over trade receivables. Under receivable control account, debit balance also possible, credit balance also possible. The general receivable is debit balance. Then if there is any credit balance, what is the reason? That you should see, and it should be reclassified as payables. Because at that time, obligation is satisfied. I'll give full marks for these three. I'll give full marks because all 3 points are solid to check rights and obligations. Compare your answers with these answers. That's why I'm putting those answers here, right? And when you are sending answers, students, send it to everyone. Don't send individually. Review bank statement to ensure cash receipts are corresponding with the debtors listing transferred in relation to goods on credit. That is completeness. Here, rights and obligation. For sample of receivable, agree the balances recorded in the sales ledger to the original name of the contract. Correct. That I agree. Who is that student? Shavla, Chris. I agreed with that. Fauz. Perform debtor circularization selected outstanding with the auditor's judgment. Inspect debtor circularization, ensure existence and the valuation. And what you can do is factoring arrangement is correct. I'm happy with that. Correct. So out of all of your answers, this answer is the best answer. Solid answer. All three primarily focused on rights and obligation. Understood. Now you all understood, students, how to approach with substantive procedures. And if I show here one question I gave, right? Substantive procedures over evidence related to, see here. This is the standard question. Because I want to emphasize third one also. See here, what is the question? They gave a problem. This is not a financial statement element. Sorry. This is not financial statement element. They gave an issue. Issue is related to IAS 37. Now they ask question. See, describe substantive procedures you would perform to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence relation to what? Above matter. What is the matter? It is a reorganization. Reorganization means restructuring provision. Standard is IAS 37. The problem is given related to IAS 37 reorganization or restructuring provision, and they ask procedures over that matter. Practice this type of question also. I gave answers, right? Practice this type of question also. There are 3 types of question that you should practice. Okay. Now, other areas. Today is the last day. Students, I will divide your entire syllabus into 2. Right? One is theory. First one, you might study. I'm going with Kaplan order. Right? First one is assurance, engagement. Second one is rules and regulations. Third one is internal audit. Fourth one is planning. Fifth one is evidence. Sixth one is internal control, not test of control, internal control. Then completion. All these points I can put under theory, category of theory. So I have a little confusion over completeness and occurrence of sales, purchase. Is there any easy way to remember these 2 points? Completeness means always comparative. Occurrence means not comparative. When you are comparing with some, for example, let's say, in simple terms, that's how I can differentiate. Occurrence is, it is a specific instance. Completeness means it's a comparative. For example, let's say receivable completeness. I'm taking individual receivable balance list, compare with receivable control account. That is completeness. Always comparative figure is completeness. Is it clear? Occurrence is a specific thing. But when you compare occurrence also you can compare, but not prospectively, retrospectively. For example, sales invoice and sales order. You are comparing sales invoice with sales order. That is reverse, retrospective. That is occurrence. Completeness means prospective. Sales order with what? Sales invoice. That is completeness. So 2 difference. Comparative completeness, specific occurrence. Forward completeness, backwards occurrence. Is it clear? That is common for all the procedures. So students, let's take this theory area. Out of these theory areas, I tell you which areas you should focus more. First is planning. Second is evidence. Don't forget to refer these things. Third one is completion. Sir, what completeness you are checking in the sales order to sales invoice? In terms of amount, in terms of quantity, both. Is it clear? The amount and the quantity and specific items. These are the theory areas, students, you should focus, right? I'll take these theory areas at last, right? This, before your exam, you should focus. You should prepare a short note or whatever on these areas. Daily basis, you should practice certain areas. The plan, daily plan. Every day, you should practice these areas. Number 1 is risk. Number 2 is procedures. I'm putting in the order. Number 3 is controls. Number 4 is ethics. Number 5 is governance, corporate governance. Number 6 is reporting. These 6 areas, daily basis, you should practice from today itself. Don't forget to do this. When you are practicing in our TRG, all 4 TRG, I gave how those areas can be tested. So please take those type of question and practice. Right? Third one, this is very important. ISA. I'll give you now standards. Please focus on those. ISA 210. Can you remember ISA 210, students? Anyone? Self-study students, sometimes you can't remember these things, right? So therefore, I give the name also. ISA 210. Acceptance consideration. Acceptance. ISA 210 means acceptance. And engagement letter. Correct. Acceptance and engagement letter. Okay. Very important. Important means important. After exams, you will realize. ISA 240, fraud. ISA 250, compliance. ISA 330, interim, final audit. Focus on these standards. Focus on these standards. Okay. And ISA 500, very, very important evidence. ISA 520, ARP, Analytical Review Procedures. ISA 430, misstatements. ISA 600, experts. And also please study direct assistance. ISA 402, service organization. ISA 580, this time very important, written representation. ISA 570, mandatory, subsequent event. Mandatory. Don't forget this. Mark it as very, very, very important. ISA 5. Sorry, I made a mistake. This is ISA 560. ISA 570 is going concern. ISA 560 is very important, students. ISA 505, confirmation. ISA 700 to 710. 710 is up to 700, it's reporting. 710 is other information. ISA 530, sample. ISA 530, sample. Mark these standards. Because most of the students, when they get standard part, I forgot to mention one, sorry. ISA 320, materiality. When they got standard parts, they think it's a theory question. When they got standard part, they take that as a theory question. No, you should write the standard answer. You should write standard answer. It is important. Okay. So write down these things. Write down these things. ISA 535, is there any standard ISA 35, Marzuk? ISA 35, 535? ISA 530 is a sample. But ISA 535 is related to, I think it was not there in your syllabus, right? I think it is SME. Even it is not there in AAA. It is something related to SME, right? Auditing of small, medium enterprises. No, don't try to buy heart now. You should have a clear idea about the standards. If you get a question, auditor's responsibility over fraud, you should apply ISA 240. So try to remember all these standards, what they are telling. It's important. Numbers are not important. And one more thing, students. Now I'll move to section A. Section A, please practice these areas. Number 1, ethics. Number 2, planning, risk assessment. Planning and risk assessment can be tested together. Number 3, very important. I have a confidence of 70% on this part, evidence. Evidence related MCQs, circularization, computations. We did some mock papers in the class. Evidence, very much important. Procedures. Procedures with controls. Completion with report. And internal audit with corporate governance. Practice questions with these combinations. This time I'm expecting these combinations. This time I'm expecting these combinations. Copy this. Sorry. Yeah, you can ask. Whatever the doubts you can ask. I want a brief explanation on emphasizes of meta paragraph. Okay, what else? Other meta paragraph. What else? Kamal, did you attend last TRG? Last week TRG, did you attend? See here, modified means changes. Modification means simply the changes. Modification means simply what I can say is changes. Right? Actually, there are two types of changes. One is report change. Report modify. Two is opinion modify. One is report modified, two is opinion modified. If it is opinion modified, automatically it is report modified only. But there is a possibility that report is modified, but opinion is not modified. When report is modified, opinion not modified. So another situation is report modified and opinion modified. What is the first situation? Report modified, opinion is not modified. Which situation report modified, opinion is not modified? When there is a additional communications. Emphasizes of meta paragraph is an additional communication. Emphasis of meta paragraph is an additional communication. Going concern meta paragraph is an additional communication. Other meta paragraph is additional communication. These three paragraphs will modify report. These three paragraphs will modify report. Report get modified. But true and fair view opinion. True and fair view opinion. Opinion is true and fair view, but report get modified. What is emphasizes of meta paragraph? When all the matters are correctly accounted, when all the matters are correctly disclosed in the financial statement, but still auditor fails to communicate that matter to shareholders. That is emphasizes of meta paragraph. Emphasizes of meta paragraph means everything is fine. Yes, these are only the modified situation. I'm talking about modified situation. Unmodified means true and fair view, no issues. I'm telling modified situation. First one is modified, but not opinion is true and fair view. So first one is emphasis of meta paragraph. Everything is perfect, but you want to communicate that to shareholder. So emphasizes of meta paragraph do not have any kind of misstatements. Now you might ask a doubt, sir, if everything is fine, why we should communicate? That auditor's judgment. Sometimes everything is okay, but there are certain things that we need to communicate. Simple example, entity is not going concern. Entity is not going concern. Financial statement prepared, breakup basis. There is no misstatement at all. Everything is correct. Accounting treatment is correct. But there's a big problem. Entity is not going concern. Accounting point perspective, it is correct. But additional communication we should make. We put under emphasis of meta paragraph. Going concern meta paragraph means when there is a matters related to going concern, but it is correctly accounted. So, for example, I can say there is material uncertainty sufficiently disclosed. Then going concern meta paragraph. Other meta paragraph means the matters that we didn't collect, the matters that we didn't direct, that we deal with audit process. We didn't deal with those matters in the audit process, but we feel that is out of audit scope, but still it will impact organization. The matter which is not covered by auditor, because auditor's perspective, it is irrelevant to financial statement, but it is relevant to organization. It is relevant to whom? Organization. That will be recorded under which matter? That will be recorded under other meta paragraph. All these three will not modify the opinion, but it will modify report. Report modified means additional communication do not affect the opinion. When we are talking about modification, when we are talking about modification, report also modified, opinion also modified. Which situation we do this? Two situations we do this. First is material misstatement. When misstatement is material, we modify the report, we modify the opinion. Unable to gather evidence. When we are unable to gather evidence, then also we modified report, modified opinion. There are 4 types of modification to opinion. One is 3 types, qualified. 2 is adverse. 3 is disclaim. Is it clear? Kamal, understood? These are the situations of modification. These are the situations of modification. Okay, right. So that's all for the day. Students, what we discussed throughout this TRG, is it useful to you all? Is it useful? So emphasizes of meta paragraph and other emphasizes of meta paragraph, Kamal, it's like this. Everything is correctly accounted and disclosed, but still auditor feels important to communicate that matter. Right. I'll tell you like this. This time accounting standards are changed. Accounting policy is changed. Management change accounting policy. And it is in line with IAS 8. Because accounting policy can be changed prospectively and retrospectively. Estimate change means prospectively. Management change accounting policy because it improved the reliability and it is allowed by IAS 8. No problem at all. It is allowed by IAS 8. So no misstatement. Everything is perfect. But still auditor want to communicate this matter to shareholder. Why? Because it's a significant change, right? So additional communication. That comes under emphasis of meta paragraph. So what I am telling is, under emphasis of meta paragraph, there is no misstatements. There is no possibility of misstatements. Whatever correctly accounted and disclosed only, we put under emphasis of meta. But auditor feels it is important to communicate. That's why they put under emphasis of matter. Other matter means the matters which is not comes under our direction. We didn't deal with those matters. But those matters are important and we feel it is not affecting audit or financial statement, but it affects organization, significant to organization. So we want to communicate that matter. Right. For example, let's say we are living in Sri Lanka. Okay. If something happened in US, or if something happened in Russia, or if something happened in Palestine, all these will affect the logistics in the world, right? So that is other matter. Indirectly, it's affect organizations. So when it comes, we feel like it is not comes under our direction, but we feel it is important to communicate. That comes under other meta paragraph. It do not affect our opinion. Kamal understood. Exactly. Not only external environment, that is irrelevant to auditor. Maybe internal also. That is irrelevant to auditor. It's out of auditor scope. Is it clear? Right. So don't forget this slide. Don't forget this slide. Please work on these areas. Please work on these areas. Right. And get prepared for the exam. Nimesha, after the class, I'll share that answers and everything to you all in the group. Okay. Fine. So with that point, I'll stop for the day. Right. Update me after you got the results. Right. So again, we'll meet in Advanced Audit and Assurance if you choose Advanced Audit and Assurance. Right. Best of luck for your exams. Thank you.